I first met my future wife when she started working with us. It was Siva who introduced her, and right away I was drawn to Natalie. I couldn't help but want her attention. A couple of months went by, and eventually we started dating. 3 months later I proposed, and just like that we got married. At the time, I had a 3-bedroom apartment that had been passed down from my grandmother. We decided to settle there together. Natalie, on the other hand, had a 2-bedroom flat on the outskirts of town, about a 30-minute drive away. After some discussion, we agreed that we'd rent it out to tenants so the property could generate some income for us. We were happily married for 17 years, working side by side at a great company. Financially, things were great. We had enough to cover everything. We also raised our son, who recently started attending a military academy. Then one day we decided to renovate our bedroom. A construction crew was scheduled to arrive in a few days, so I started clearing out the cabinets. Meanwhile, my wife had gone to visit her parents for a couple of hours. They live in the suburbs. As I was going through the shelves, I came across a black bag. To be honest, I didn't even think twice before opening it. I was just trying to figure out where to put it. Inside, there were a lot of letters. Some were in Natalie's handwriting, and some were written by someone else. I don't know why, but something made me start reading them. It turned out these were letters that my wife had written to another person long before we met. Apparently, they were addressed to someone in the army, someone she had loved at that time. The letters were filled with so much love, tenderness, and passion that I was completely taken aback. I had always thought of Natalie as someone reserved when it came to expressing her feelings and emotions, but these letters showed me a different side of her. This guy, Max, whose name I later learned, had clearly felt the same way about her. Anyway, I couldn't stop reading the letters, so much so that I didn't even hear Natalie return. What a scene that was. She was furious, yelling that I was a terrible person, asking how I could violate her privacy like that, how it was all so personal, and so on. We ended up having a huge argument, and it lasted 2 weeks without us speaking. I felt embarrassed about what I had done. Why on earth had I read those letters? It was something from 20 years ago, but still, there it was. What troubled me the most, though, was why Natalie had kept them so carefully. And the sweet, loving words for another man sparked feelings of anger and jealousy in me. Eventually, I apologized to my wife, and the whole incident kind of faded into the background. But about a month later, something unexpected happened. I got a call from a woman who said, "I'm your downstairs neighbor, and I can't reach Natalie. A few days ago, a damp spot started appearing on my ceiling, and it's slowly spreading. What should I do?" It clicked in my mind that this was Natalie's neighbor from the apartment in the suburbs. I said, "Knock on the door. There are tenants living there. Just check if everything's okay." The neighbor sounded confused and responded, "No one's been living there for a year." What tenants? Now I was the one caught off guard. I told her I'd be there in half an hour. While I was on my way, I kept calling my wife, but her phone was turned off. About 40 minutes later, I found myself standing in front of an apartment I hadn't stepped into in years. The first thing I noticed as I opened the door was my wife's shoes and a pair of men's sneakers. I think the rest is pretty obvious. When I stepped inside, well, it turned out that 6 months ago, Natalie had reconnected with her first love, Max. Their old feelings had reignited. Even though he had a family in another city, they'd asked the tenants to leave and turned the apartment into a love nest. They spent their time reading those old letters, reminiscing about their youth, and apparently, his wife hadn't been able to hide them well enough. It was a complete shock. She calmly agreed to the divorce and moved into the apartment. My son fully supported me. Relations with Natalie soured even more when she came to live with us, but he couldn't understand or forgive her actions. Honestly, I don't know what she thought she was doing. Now she lives alone, while her lover hasn't left his family. Still, he continues to visit her from time to time. And as for her, well, she lost everything, including her family. So guys, if you all liked today's story, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you for watching.